welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Lucero. I make videos about self-improvement and the college student lifestyle. And in this week's video, we are going to continue a 3-part series titled Navigating College Finances. And this episode is about graduating debt-free. So without anything else left to say, let's get this video started. I would like to begin with a disclaimer. I am not a professional. This is just me talking to you as a peer. This is also not personalized advice. I do not know anything about anyone's situation besides myself, so I am talking from myself and my own perspective. I am telling you everything that I wish I had heard before and things that I genuinely use in my daily life, but by no means this is a one-size-fits-all solution and is also not any sort of professional financial advice. So with that being said, let's dive into our first talking point. So we're gonna start big and strong with do not take out a loan. I know that is a really big, kind of controversial statement, but I genuinely believe that you should be very, very careful with borrowing money in general, especially when you're about to start your career. Number one, and I heard this advice before, and this applies to any other situation of your life, you cannot buy what you cannot afford, which is crazy to think, especially in the culture that we've cultivated in the United States now. There is an insane amount of debt because people are living above their means and they're trying to afford things or buy things that they cannot realistically afford. And when it comes to school, there is this big culture of you have to go to the biggest school, you have to go to the most prestigious school, and a lot of those times those prestigious schools come with an incredibly high price tag which we cannot really afford, so then we go and lend money. The problem with a loan is that number one, it's not your money, you're just lending it from someone else, and number two, interest. This is something that a lot of people do not realize, and I am saying this as a freshman in college. I graduated high school a couple of months ago. This is pretty fresh, and I feel like I have a first-hand kind of opinion and perspective on what the climate regarding college debt is like right now in 2024, 2025. A lot of people, especially young kids, because these are the kids that are being put into this situation, is that they do not really understand the problem with interest rates. You borrow, let's say, $15,000, which is already a pretty big, substantial amount of money, but by the end, when you actually pay the bank or the company that you're lending this money from, you're gonna pay interest, which is gonna make it higher than the money that you actually had or the money that you received. So hypothetically speaking, you borrowed $15,000, you're gonna end up paying $20,000, and that money and the way rate increases is exponential. You have to be incredibly careful, because I have heard of stories of people making their monthly payments for years and then they realize that the only thing that has actually happened is that their debt has increased even though they have already paid thousands of dollars, and the only thing that they've been paying is interest. So this idea that you're going to be able to pay it off, it's true, but at what cost? And the truth is that the cost and the thing that you're sacrificing is your financial freedom in the future for a 4-year degree. Let me just say, also I want to state, college is not a scam. College is incredibly important. Education is incredibly important, but you have to take smart, educated decisions when it comes to accessing your education. There's multiple other routes that allow you to still get quality education, but they do not mean that you have to sacrifice and sell your soul to a financial institution. So you have to be incredibly careful with lending money, especially when you're so incredibly young. You haven't even started your career. Even me, I just got into college. I'm just starting to take some class. I'm just starting to discover who I truly am and the things that I truly want. And I cannot imagine already having a debt with someone and then graduating by the age of 22, 23 and already owing thousands of dollars. That is just absolutely insane. I have heard of stories of people that graduate and they are not able to get their jobs right out of college, because that is also a thing that happens. Jobs are not just waiting for you outside. You graduate with a degree, but that does not guarantee you anything. It does open up doors. It does increase your earning potential, but it does not guarantee you a job right out of school. But you have to start making payments right after you're done with your education. So how are you going to pay that? And then let's be very frank and very honest. We're not going to be making the same money when you're right out of college, 22, 23, as you will be when you are 50 or 53 and you have had many, many, many years of experience. So the payments that you will be able to make when you are 23, 24, 25 are not the same that you will be able to make when you are much older. But then that kind of limits you, because that money that you could have used for something else is already destined for your debt, and that debt will keep increasing if you're not careful with it. I would like to end this section by sharing the stories of two TikTokers that I follow. One is called Budget with Bradley, or Bradley on a Budget. I'll put his information here. He now dedicates his platform to giving financial advice to anyone, not just college students, because when he was a college graduate, he had over $100,000 in debt, and he just worked to survive, which is insane to think when you just went through school and you're so incredibly young. And he talks about his life and having a debt and how he was able to get rid of that and how much trauma and pain that caused him.
So 17-year-old me, who had no idea what I was doing, really no guidance from my parents, I decided to go to the best of the best, because I thought if I go to the best school and I work hard, I will then end up with a great life. And that was an absolute lie. So I decided to go to the Culinary Institute of America, and I racked up over $130,000 in student loan debt for a 3-year bachelor's degree.
Then there's also this other TikToker called Budget with Chanel. She just started her journey paying off her student loans and her debt in general, because she also has credit card debt. Be careful. She, I believe, has like $96,000 in debt. She just graduated college. She's like 22 years old. She lives with her parents and works full time to pay off her student loans, which is absolutely insane.
Hi, my name is Chanel. I'm 24 years old. I work a full-time job and live at home with my parents, and I currently have $94,859.04 in debt.
So just check those testimonies out, and please be very, very careful. Remember, you cannot buy what you cannot afford, so be very mindful. This takes us to our second point, which is do not live above your means. And I kind of already touched on this, and I want to use Chanel's story and testimony as an example. She talks about how when she was in college, she would go out more than she should actually gone out. She bought way too many coffees and clothes and dinner, and those things add up. And she would of course use her credit card to pay for all those things. So eventually she went onto credit card debt. So the debt that she talks about in her videos is from her student loans, but also from her credit card, which is absolutely insane.
Unfortunately, this is the second time that I have been in credit card debt. The first time I was in debt, I was a junior and senior in college, simply living way above my means, shopping with money I didn't actually have, going out to eat, going to grab coffee with money I didn't have, going and buying alcohol, going out to the bars with money that I did not have.
And I think we have cultivated this culture where we are just constantly buying and buying and buying, which also buys into other like subjects such as marketing and consumerism, etc., which we're not going to talk about, at least in this video. But it's insane because we always feel this constant need to get more, because if not, we're not the best. If not, what are other people gonna say about us? If not, we're not going to be happy. And the only thing that we're truly doing is sacrificing ourselves. And quite frankly speaking, most of the time we do not need the things that we buy, especially when it's just a compulsive kind of action, and when it's to satisfy other things that you should be tackling in a healthier way that does not sacrifice your financial freedom. And at least for me, if I know that I'm not able to buy something twice, then I'm not going to buy it. That's a habit that my mom has taught me at this young age. Of course, I feel like if you're going to buy a home, there's no way you're gonna be able to buy 2 homes. So then it, of course, applies to some situations. But for example, a phone. If I'm not able to afford this phone twice, then I'm not going to buy this exact phone, because there are multiple other phones outside in the market that I could buy twice, meaning that the price is in accordance to my means, and it's going to perform the same functions, and it's not going to owe me. Because what this kind of philosophy, or the line of reasoning that this philosophy follows, is that if you cannot buy something twice, then that object kind of takes away your freedom. Because if you lose it, if you break it, if you get it stolen, then that's it. You've lost it. And this kind of, especially with material possessions, you have to be very careful. Like, do you really need to spend that much money on something, or can you just get something cheaper that you can buy twice? Doesn't mean that you're going to, but it's not going to have that much power over you or drain you as much as it would. So you generally need to ground yourself and take a moment to look at your own situation and be honest and be like, I cannot really buy this right now, or I can, or I'm going to save. But be mindful and don't let your impulse control you, or just materialistic desires control or take the best from you. And my last advice is to, number 1, apply for scholarships, and number 2, maximize your financial aid. I am a huge scholarship fan, which is crazy, but one of the best advices that I have ever received for my situation and as a college student is to apply for every single scholarship out there. And quite frankly, it is exhausting. It does take up a lot of time, but it is incredibly worth it. And very honestly, for the rest of your life, no one is going to hand you out free money like that. No one is going to give you $1,000 for you to write an essay about how you love your pet. So you should really be using your time wisely and your opportunities very wisely. Now, I'm going to guide you through how I apply for my own scholarships. I'm still navigating this journey, but if I learned something from that, is that you can never underestimate the power that scholarships and financial aid has, but you do need to put in the work, but it's worth it at the end. And I'm telling you, from my own perspective, from my own journey and for my own testimony, that it is incredibly worth it, and I definitely would not be where I am today if it wasn't for all that financial aid and scholarships and grants and all of those things, but no loans. So this is how I apply for scholarships. Number 1, I do constant research. I'm always researching for scholarships, and you can ask any person that knows me. I'm always researching for opportunities, fellowships, summits, anything that is fully funded, honestly, or that gives me some sort of monetary reward. I'm gonna do it. If it requires me to do some work, if it requires me to do some research, I'm going to do it. But if I'm gonna be able to get some monetary compensation from it, I'm down. I'm there. But in order to find these opportunities, I have to do my research. And I have found it that once you get into this environment of scholarships, they just kind of find you too. I was able multiple years ago when I was a young kid, 15 years old, I applied for the Rice Scholarship. Yeah, it's just a Rice Scholarship. And through that, I've been able to receive so many other opportunities, and it's just about asking, it's just about researching. You can just Google scholarships for short people, or scholarships for Hispanic women, scholarships for women in STEM, scholarships for tall men, scholarships for basketball players. Like, there's so much out there. It's actually really crazy, but you need to actually be intentional about sitting down and researching for hours, which leads me to my second point, which is to take it as a full-time job. As a student, most people cannot really have a job. A lot of college students actually do not work, so you can take this as your job. Of course, there is no guarantee that you're going to get anything, which is also something that you have to understand, but it is very worth it. You can take 10 no's, but if you get 2 yeses, that's good. keep going and work with that. Moving on. So more towards the logistics side of applying for scholarships is to keep all of your information and documents and writings centralized. It gets to a point where it's very like mechanic. Most applications follow the same format, ask for the same things, kind of ask the same questions too. So you kind of build a callus on how to tackle these applications. And the first one is very overwhelming. The second one is tiring. The third one, you're like, I don't really want to do this anymore. But by the 10th, the 15th, you're like, okay, I know how to do this. Practice makes perfect, and it also makes it easier because you already kind of have some essays that you can resubmit, or you can tailor some things and resubmit it. It makes it much easier. You already have your rec letters, you already know your GPA, you already have your resume built, so just kind of plugging and chugging, how they say in math, and it just makes it much easier. Trust me, now I'm at the point where I can just sit down and 30 minutes I read an essay. Is it the best work ever? Absolutely not. But sometimes I'm competing for like $500 scholarships, which $500 is $500. Do not just take it for granted. But if you can apply to multiple $500 scholarships in 30 minutes or in an hour, then it's statistically speaking, you're going to get something. So just put in the work. Of course, if I'm competing for a $40,000 scholarship, then I definitely put in more time and effort and dedication towards those applications. Not saying that those scholarships are better, but they of course offer you more things and more resources. So I do focus more of my time towards the bigger scholarships because of course competition in those is definitely harder. But if you find a lot of $500 scholarships, $350 scholarships, you can write simple essays. They're really not complicated and you get just better at it. I was talking with my mom the other day and she was telling me, at this point you just have mastered the art of writing essays about your life. And I'm like, yeah, quite frankly, yes. So, you know, practice makes perfect. And last, when it comes to the financial aid, I'm a huge believer, and I have heard this advice before, it does not hurt to ask. You do have to put in, I guess, the effort of going to the office and being like, hey, I have a really good GPA, I'm incredibly involved in school, why are you giving me more money? And I'm sorry, I genuinely do not feel guilty about this. Institutions take so much money from you. Do you really think they feel any sort of remorse when they overcharge you for parking, when they're overcharging you for anything, quite frankly? No, they do not. So you need to really see the value that you have as a student, especially if you're an outstanding student, and be like, hey, you're giving me $1,000 when honestly I need more and I deserve more, and I have proven you that I am worth more than the money that you're giving me. And a lot of the times you're able to find more money, but it does require that, I guess, kind of fiercefulness of fighting for it and being like, this is not fair, or could you please try to give me something more? Of course, always be respectful. Don't go and fight the people at the financial aid office. It's truly not their fault. They're just there trying to live their life. It's more about you asking more of your university because you're there to study, and if you are doing a good job, you're putting their name high, then you should receive help from them. Because as an institution that seeks to educate and to propel their students, and they should be helping their students, and you should be there building a strong argument and then defending their argument in order to get more financial aid. And how I'm saying, they don't really feel bad when they're taking your money, so might as well you go and make the most out of what you have. It never hurts to ask. You never know the things that you can learn, so please go and ask. And if you genuinely think, because this has happened multiple times, that they're not really giving you what they should be giving you, or they reduced it, your financial aid for no reason, then definitely go and ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, and it doesn't hurt to represent yourself and your best interest. And of course, always respectfully. And trust me, the people at the financial aid office, it's most likely not really an issue that they have to any power over, and they deserve your respect. So that takes us to the end of this video. I hope it was incredibly helpful. I have been trying to gather as much financial knowledge as I can. It is really a very complicated journey to navigate. It is very stressful sometimes. I want to be very, very honest, and I think college is incredible. College is really fun. College is amazing, but it's also really stressful, and I cannot imagine me sitting down and truly not knowing how I'm going to afford the next semester. It must be incredibly desperating. What's the word? Yeah, I think it's desperating. It's just really tough to figure out your way in these institutions that they're just incredibly expensive, and they just keep getting more expensive. So be very careful with the steps that you're taking, and never ever sacrifice your freedom and your peace of mind for something like that. I recently watched the documentary Borrowed Futures. I'm gonna link it down below. I'm gonna link everything down below. It really was mind-opening, and it taught me that I have to be very clever with the decisions that I take. It's not impossible. It's definitely hard, but nothing is impossible. So we have to take the wisest decisions that we can and tackle issues to the best of our ability. So I hope you found this advice incredibly helpful, and also this video somewhat entertaining. So without anything else left to say, please subscribe on the little red button. I will be making more episodes on this series, so you definitely do not want to miss those. Leave any comments if you guys have any. I'm always open to any sort of discussion. Also follow me on all my social media, where I'm usually more active with other things in my life. And I will see you guys next week. Bye bye. Fix this. We're looking cute. Okay.
Y me quedo un par de meses